All right, free radicals, here I am, once again. My name is Dave, and today I need to address this. This channel has, maybe 6,500 people or so that are on it. I grew rapidly for about a month or two, and there's not a lot of market for, someone told me, if you keep the name of this channel, you're not going to be loved by anyone. And that's true. And now I have to pick apart people who are on the left, who all of a sudden want to take that exit and get off the Tulsi Highway. I've noticed that in the last week or two. Well, here it is. Here's the smoking gun. Tulsi is not for Medicare for All, which is BS. And again, I will point to the House and Senate versions of this bill, how they allow for private contracts, and how anybody who reads these words and thinks otherwise, or thinks somehow only the Bernie Sanders bill is going to get the job done, and the Tulsi bill somehow undermines all of that. And here's the thing, people aren't actually reading it. Thankfully, my friend Alan talked about this. So here's the tweet, and I retweeted and I wrote, "This is the intellectual among us. The guy who purports to understand the nuance and everything. The guy who stays up all night to do videos and seems to never sleep. Yet he has no clue as to what's in the two sponsored bills. He also missed it when Tulsi raised her hand." Who would abolish all private health insurance? Raise your hand. Tulsi did not raise her hand. All right. So in essence, I had this in reverse. Tulsi kept her hand down. All right. So that means, and maybe that's what threw people, that the people who raised their hands, they were all for keeping some form of private insurance. Let me, again, summarize quickly, and then I'll go to my friend Alan, who wrote, I believe, the definitive article on this topic. It's not in the mainstream media. It's not within progressive circles. It's not floating around there. Alan's just a guy like me who's read the bill and thankfully did so, and I didn't do it the way he did it, so I owe him for doing real work on this and not just getting up at 2 a.m. and shooting some video. And I'm not saying that's bad, and I'm not saying the work that this other guy does is bad, but when people look up to you and they say, this guy is a source of reason or logic, or he's a source of authority, even though he's kind of impugned religion, and he's done a lot of things which I totally disagree with. I mean, we're never going to get to that point of coalition. We're never going to get there. And this is a prime example of how we're not going to get there. I'm not talking about centrism. I'm talking about putting aside certain little pet peeve language or having these knee-jerk reactions to things and then just shooting from the hip. So a 2-tier healthcare system. Those who are well off can buy better care. Otherwise, what's the point? I'm sorry. All right, let me... Wow. So, to me, this sounds like class envy. I don't care. Bob's across the street from me. He pulls in his Escalade. His kids are all dressed to the hilt. His wife looks great. His lawn looks perfect. He's got a lawn service, comes once a week. He's got a big fence or a gate around his property. Man, Bob, do you need all that stuff? Meanwhile, I don't even have a yard. You know what I mean? At least I do have a house. So, I guess I'm trying to make a real tortured analogy here that busybody behavior seems to be rampant among many progressives. Do you see what he's got over there? Now, do I agree with Bernie Sanders that there should be no billionaires in this country? I don't know. I would say my language there would be like, they really need to pay some taxes. Maybe we'll encourage them to make more money so they can pay even more taxes. So you got to be careful with what you wish for. Because if you knock people down, that's not going to encourage them to work harder so we can collect more of their taxes. I think there needs to be kind of balance. and that's just one view, and there are multiple nuanced views on taxation. But this idea that there's a two-tier healthcare system, Tulsi's not encouraging that. Tulsi Gabbard has said, the House bill, you can get a private policy. Senate bill, you can also get a private policy. My bill, I don't seek to abolish private health insurance. And she cited the fact that Americans seem to like choice. But yet all those people who weren't covered before, I'm across the street from Bob. Bob's got the Cadillac insurance. I've got no insurance. Now I can get free insurance, and Bob has to not only pay for his policy, but he has to float my policy as well. And I'm upset about what now? What is it about that that's wrong? Bob pays into the public education system, yet he sends his kids to private school. Same argument. Bob, no, you can't. You're going to undermine the entire system if you continue to send your kids to private school. You got to send them to the crappy school. Now, I may have to send my kids to the crappy school, but I'm not going to go to that extreme to tell Bob that he needs to fork over money so my kids can go to his private school. I'm thankful that my kids go to a school, and it's up to me as a parent to make sure that they're educated, they're well fed, they behave properly. Those are my responsibilities, right? Kind of like in healthcare, if you're not healthy, if you're overweight, you drink, you smoke, and you do all these bad things, you eat fatty food all day, that's on you. You know what I mean? So there's got to be kind of a balance here, and this tweet here is ridiculous. It's not a bait and switch. It's not a bait and switch. If she never kept her hand down at that particular debate, where that was a big question apparently all of a sudden for these super progressives that can smell it, they know, oh, she's talking in a different language. She's said the word choice. Please don't say it's a Republican talking point. Republicans don't want this. Which Republican is proposing a healthcare bill like Tulsi Gabbard's? Nothing. It's not even, doesn't even exist. You know, bring your insurance across state lines or some stupid thing. That's about all you're going to get out of Republicans. So, again, my friend Alan wrote the definitive article about this. Look at the legislation. Healthcare providers need to opt in. This is important. Only those healthcare providers who opt in the program will be covered under Medicare for All. Look at the legislation. This is what it says in the legislation. At this point, people are going to say, but hey, this is non-duplicative care, and you're not supposed to get private insurance. That's what this guy says. It's a two-tiered system. You'd be wrong. So this guy is wrong. Okay? It's pretty simple. And it's the biggest misconception. The legislation is clear. Something that is covered or considered to be covered in service and the provider, all of those things have to meet the Medicare requirements. If the service or the provider is not covered under Medicare, then the provision of private contracts kick in, opening the door for private insurance and cash payments to healthcare providers. Okay, and he's got another article. If you click on this, you can get there. So, can it create a tiered service among Medicare healthcare providers? Yes, and this is the Senate bill. Does it make the program worthless? No. Now, the House version apparently goes a little further, where you cannot, similar to the Senate version, healthcare providers cannot pick and choose which services they will cover. It means that they have to accept it, and they are prevented from taking extra payments. In that sense, it is impossible for this program to encourage a tiered service by healthcare professionals taking Medicare. Tulsi has been clear that Medicare for All will provide a base level, and people are free to buy private insurance, like the House and Senate allow. The choice is not about choosing between public and private. It is about choosing to get or not get private insurance. public insurance is a given. You are covered. You pay into it, just like people pay property taxes and school taxes and can choose to send their kids to private school. You always have the option to take your children to public school, but you may want something different. Well, you pay for it. But this does not allow you to not pay into the public system. So, this two-tiered person here who's got the private insurance has to pay for the public insurance for those people who can't afford anything else. I don't know, other than classism and class envy, there's nothing really going on here. There's really nothing to see. The bill, as written, works. And Tulsi's bill is similar to that bill, as written, that works. And in all cases, private contracts are allowed. So let me just sum this video up. I want to talk about this notion that you need to get off the Tulsi highway now and just jump behind Bernie and don't use facts, use emotion, use knee-jerk reactions to things that are very important. Healthcare is extremely important, and it's got to be a top issue. My top issue is endless war, because if you don't shut down endless war, you're not going to have money for this so-called flawed two-tier system. You're not going to have money for that. Because you're going to be, again, running around. You get Elizabeth Warren, or you get Bernie caving into the generals and so forth. You're going to get what you've got now. So if you want Medicare for all in any form, you need to vote for Tulsi Gabbard, because she has a way to pay for it. So that's my video. And you gotta watch out who you're listening to and who claims to be kind of like a moral authority on an issue, because you're going to be disappointed. Because there's tribalism when you dig through and you look at it. Maybe it's not even intentional. Maybe it's just sort of in the DNA and they don't even know it anymore. I'm really disappointed in this guy. I'm disappointed in a lot of these guys who go out there. And again, I think their motivation is for us to start to coalesce around Bernie and to say, well, I like Tulsi a lot, but that was a deal breaker. Because that's what I heard from the other guy. He does say it's not saying it's horrid, just a switch. It's not a switch. And it's not horrid. And it's not a switch. Again, she didn't raise her hand at the very first debate. If you wanted to be the investigative journalist that you're claiming to be here, you should have come out the day after that debate and said, how come Tulsi Gabbard kept her hand down? What does that mean? So, but you didn't. And now it's starting to look like something else. All right. I'm done. Be back soon. See you then.